Hello YouTube, welcome to another episode of the Macadamia Show. This one's a bit special. Nick Savage has asked me over to take a look at a spraying operation that's going on. That's something I could never show you myself because I don't do it. Nick's here at Rosebank, Matt Molino's farm. You're on film already, Nick.
That's all right. That's fine. This is Riley.
This is Riley.
Hello.
And this is Matt, the owner of...
Matt before.
Yeah, I've not met Matt before.
Oh, right.
No, we were going to talk for ages. Matt's a subscriber to the channel and he's commented once or twice. And so now we're here on his farm here in Rosebank with his new tractor, and I've heard about this tractor before. This is gorgeous. What is it, Matt? It's a how many horsepower is this?
110 horsepower, 95 I think at the PTO.
Right.
And it's about 9 months old now.
Are you happy with it?
Pretty happy with it, yeah. Great tractor to drive. I actually drove it from Pieces Creek over to here, from Nick's place over to here earlier this week. Didn't feel like you're in a tractor.
Wow, yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, look, I've been driving my very, very old Kubota M4030 from the 1990s, I think it is. It's got 6,000 hours on it or something. It's got a detuned V6 truck engine in it.
Plenty of power.
It's only 60 horse, but geez, it's reliable.
Yeah.
They're good, reliable things. So Nick at the moment is about to refill with some pesticides, so we'll go see what he's doing. Here's the Tornado spray tank. He's got a jug of something evil, wearing safety gloves, which he should.
Oh, these aren't too bad. They're all right.
What green?
Well, that's the balanced ZBM. So the
right. That's the
molybdenum.
Right.
It's a foliar for this time of year when flowering started.
Sure.
Realistically, you should probably have your boron out.
Yeah.
For the 2 months ago in your fertilizer.
I know. Yeah, I haven't done that, but and this
That's
stuff.
just activator.
That's a spreader oil.
Spreader,
Yeah. That's great. So it all goes in the tank and then gets mixed somehow?
We'll have to look in the bottom filling. So there's a fair amount of agitation from the fill from the pump.
Right.
But then there's also agitation in the tank, and it circulates through the pump when you run it.
Right.
So if you have a look in, you'll see it's gurgling and...
Can I have a look?
Stand up.
Is that all right?
Yeah. Just wash your hands up.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's something swirling around in there.
The transform doesn't smell too bad.
So you're using transform?
I've been spraying diazinon all week and it stinks.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
I think this will be the last year we're allowed to use it.
Diazinon. You know,
Banned in Europe.
it's sheep dip, basically.
Yeah, the cattle ear tags for fly are diazinon.
Yeah. Well, that was banned in 2007.
So a long time.
Yeah.
If you look at the price per tank of Leopardex is $54 a tank.
Yeah.
Diazinon's $74 a tank, and this stuff is up in the $200 range.
I know.
So very hard for people to justify.
Well, look, I want to use transform too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got people around, and I know for people who are harvesting, you have to use transform because it doesn't have a withholding period.
Well, you certainly can't use Symbio.
Yeah, that's the new fungicide.
New Savanto.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
No, that's the new pesticide, but you cannot harvest after using that.
You can after transform though.
You can after transform.
It has a zero.
It has an on, and you can after Leopardex.
Well,
certain periods. Withholding.
But transform zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So transform's very good for not affecting your beneficials.
Or if you're doing a late harvest on something like your 849s or A16s or that sort of thing.
The others will knock out your beneficials.
Yeah. And so that's a separate tank for hand washing there. That's interesting.
Yeah, and that rear one is for your jugs. You know, in a coffee shop, they put the milk jug upside down.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
I don't really use it. But
Yeah. But it's obviously a reservoir, same reservoir for just pure water.
It's all attached to the same yellow tank. It just has a jet which sprays up. So it jugs upside down, cleans it all.
And now Matt's tank, these are rainwater tanks, are they?
These are rain, yeah.
So best gold standard?
Yeah, we don't filter it.
You don't need to filter it though. Yeah. And now so the PTO here, leading to the tractor, turns a turbine?
No, so just running a diaphragm pump.
Yep.
And then there's solenoids to activate the nozzles on the tower.
Yep.
And a pressure regulator.
Fantastic. And the sprayers, this one's Matt's?
Horses mats, yeah. And so this has got the variable pump output, so you can actually dial up in your computer how much per hectare volume you want to put out, and so then you can go a little bit faster or slower and it maintains the same output. Whereas with the older units, you've got output is X, match your speed to figure out how much goes out.
And you have to do the math yourself.
You've got to figure it out. Yep.
Right, okay. Yeah, fair enough. So yeah, all sorts of hydraulic hoses coming out the back there.
So very high output.
Yep.
And 4 cannons on the top on each side, and then normal spray nozzles down the bottom. We've turned off 2 nozzles on the bottom just to get a bit more power redirected to the top.
Because we've got some fairly tall trees.
These are the tallest.
Right.
And I reckon...
And these are 344s or something.
15 metres, I reckon.
They're the same kind of height as mine, but with better row spacing.
Yeah, well, they used to be 7 metres. They're now 14s.
So every second row's been removed.
With this, in the current very slight westerly of about 4 km an hour westerly, we're doing double-sided 14-metre rows.
Okay.
Which is saving enormous amounts of time.
Yeah, now you used to have single-sided, didn't you?
Still got it in the shed.
Right.
And it would take an hour a tank and you'd be crawling around at 2.3. And it's really excellent coverage, great control, because you're not having to juggle 2 sides.
Yeah.
But it took, by the time you started at 6 and you got to 10 and the wind came up, you've only done 2 or 3 tanks.
Yeah.
It's a 3-day job, whereas we'll knock this off before lunch in a single day now.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at these nozzles if I can. I mean, I'll just hop quietly over your filling hose. So I take it these ones are the ones that are locked off.
They're off.
You can aim these wherever you want.
You can adjust them a little bit. They have a range of movement.
Right.
And positive and negative pressure on each side, so you can turn them right around to get a different positive. So you
different spray pattern or
different size droplets.
Different size droplets, right. Because some pesticides and herbicides specify medium droplets or big droplets,
and depending what sort of wind you're spraying in, and delta T is also going to affect the droplet size you should be putting out.
Right.
Yeah. So
these ones point up, and the cannons are they're like hose nozzles, aren't they, from a garden hose?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that on both sides.
Yeah.
And they can be tilted by these hydraulics here.
Yep.
Right. And the fan at the back is basically, it's not a cooling fan, is it? It's
providing air and thrust to the
actual...
support the water coming out.
Right, so the PTO is really turning that.
And the pump, yeah.
And the pump, and doing both jobs. Okay. And even down a 14 metre row spacing, it can do double-sided. It can reach
in the right conditions.
Which is still.
Yeah. So, but you need some horsepower, 110 horsepower tractor.
Yep.
And we tried it in 540E and it didn't like it.
Yep.
So it's in 540. So it's only working at 50%. The computer gives you a rating of tractor, how much it's working.
Yep.
Still heaps of juice to go, and I'm only running it at about 510, so I'm not working it too hard.
How's the tractor compare to your Landini?
Well, it's got a bit more horsepower.
Yep.
It's a bigger wheelbase.
Yeah.
So it's a bit more comfortable. It's a bit bigger.
It's wider in track, isn't it? Yeah. You're sitting up higher too, by the look.
Higher, yeah. The Landini is smaller.
Right. And it's 90 horse anyway, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
But they weigh about the same.
Really?
The Landini's quite heavy.
Yeah.
So no, they're both good units. This is more comfortable. The aircon works better and the radio works better.
Oh, there's
I don't have
aircon.
to wear my headphones because the radio works. So we're in luxury here.
The only aircon I get is an afternoon breeze, and I've been slashing for 3 days solid. Wow, that's
You
great.
can come in if you want. There's 2 seats.
Is there? I'd love to do that. Yeah. Yeah, we nearly ready to roll?
Yeah, it won't be long.
Yeah. Just seeing around there. Obviously, there's no traction in the wheels. They just drive along. And yeah, if you like a city slicker, if you're scared of tractors, don't be too scared. They're actually very easy things to drive once you get used to it. This one's got a cage to protect itself from damage by macadamia boughs and that sort of thing, and I can say from experience that is a very, very good idea. All right, we'll be on our way soon. Okay, here we go. What a treat this is. Okay, so the computer that manages the spraying is over to the right of you.
Set to 2,200 litres a hectare.
Right.
So it's calculating your output based on the settings, the flow rate of the pump.
I'm just amazed at how quiet it is in the cab of this tractor.
Yeah, this is
I have to
nice
wear
and
ear
quiet
protection. And it's even got aircon.
Yep.
So this tells you on the dash, what's this 5M? Does that...
Well, this is 3 ranges
Right.
and 8 speeds per range. So we're in
Holy moly.
the middle range, and we're in fifth speed.
So I got 4th speed, and I don't even have synchro mesh.
yeah, this one is a bit clunky changing. I don't know if it's wearing itself in. It's got a wet plug.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Right, so we're going along a slightly side... is it this row we're going to do?
We're going to go down the hill a bit
Okay.
and find where I left off.
You've got to make a mental note of that, I guess.
Yeah. Some people would mark it. Matt's put this cone in here to mark it, but I just remember.
Yeah, we've had about 20 mils of rain, and it's still pretty wet on the ground, obviously, because it's not dry enough to burn off. But you haven't gone for a slide at all?
No, we're in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I have been slashing, yeah.
Compared to many places, this place is flat.
Yeah.
I have got a farm in the Plains Ridges, which has got 3 separate sort of paddocks, and the middle paddock is a black soil, and it's really wet. The red soil paddocks have dried out. We sprayed 100 acres in 2 days yesterday and the day before.
Jeez.
In Pierce's Creek, and we got over that. I had 1 slide, but it was alright.
The flowering looks decent on these trees, but you know, it actually looks decent on my trees this year.
These are A's.
Yeah, you can see that's an A16, isn't it, over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Flowers, long stringy flowers hanging down all over the place.
Reasonable colour for an A. Matt's been putting compost out now for 4 or 5 years consecutively, and they're really starting to show the benefit.
They always manage to look anemic to me.
They don't look great.
Compared to the Hawaiians. And yet you're treating them okay. You feel like you're an abuser. Here we go. Here's some good flower on there. Right. This is the row.
Yeah, so
I'm going to turn around and face backwards in a second if I can find... if I can do it without elbowing you.
this is the right road, sure.
So
PTO on. I've only put 1 side of the tower on at the moment, so it's just going to spray this tree as we go around the corner.
Okay.
Just give it a sec to build up pressure.
Yep.
On the back, it'll get to about 22 bar.
I can see the lower jets going there now as well.
Yep. I'll bring it up to about 500.
PTO.
Yeah.
Right.
Come on. There we go. Now it's up to pressure.
Right. I can see those tall towers are really...
So we can...
They pump out a lot of volume too.
Yeah, this is the thing with this unit. Why is it not up to pressure yet? Just give it a sec to get up to pressure.
see it really give the trees a. I mean, that's as thorough as you'd want.
Yeah,
That's a real spray.
that's good. Yeah, well, they're putting out a lot this pump.
Yeah.
Its maximum flow is 250 litres a minute now. It's not dialed up that hard.
No. Would you ever do that?
No, that's...
Like if you're foliar feeding or something?
I don't think you get long out of the pump if you do that.
Because you're straining it.
You're really straining it. But there you go, double-sided road, double-sided at 14 metres with a very slight westerly of about 4k an hour.
Okay.
So if it got up to 10, you wouldn't be able to do this. You can only do this because of the low breeze.
So between 2 and 8, I've heard,
Is ideal.
is ideal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And beyond 8, it's a bit of a blind ball, you know, where you're spraying. And obviously, if you're near residences, you've got to be real careful.
Yeah, we don't have any sensitive areas except for the boundary at the north.
Yep.
And it's going to turn to northerly at about 11. So we'll go and do the northerly.
Breeze.
Right.
So what do you use, Nick, to work out when the wind's going to be? Is there an app you use?
You use a little handheld thing to get...
A wind meter?
yeah, as you're working.
Right.
But I just use the Weather Zone app, which I find is the best.
Yep.
Willy Weather's not too bad. It provides the Delta T, which the others don't do.
Right.
Which is handy to be able to get off an app instead of calculating it yourself from the table.
What's the Delta T? Pardon my ignorance.
Delta T is the chart around air falling as opposed to rising. So it's a scale of temperature and humidity that tells you when cold air will be dropping into the valley, so I don't cover the people down in the bottom of Mackie Road
with a cloud.
With a cloud of stuff falling down onto them.
Right.
And so, you know, that's quite important. We've got a farm off the top of Springvale Hill, and if we don't get that right, we'll cover everyone down on Scarabalotti's Road with a whole range of nasty stuff, and they won't be happy. So,
well, we have a license, we have a social license, but it's limited. You got to do no harm as much as possible.
The spraying around the Clunes village is a nightmare.
Nah, because of complaints. Yeah.
Everyone's an expert.
Yeah.
And there's very little understanding of people wanting to do the right thing. We don't want to do the wrong thing.
No. But really, they just don't want you to spray.
They just don't want you to spray, period.
Yeah. Now, you can go around corners with this thing too. Oh, well, I've got a cage.
That's all right. We'll sort it out in a minute. I'll turn it all off and we'll do it safely.
Okay.
So we need to get rid of these little random trees here.
Right. Oh, you can even drive through the trees.
Yeah.
Well, they'll get a good dose.
Shut off that side.
Yeah.
Spraying out into
the lantana.
Yeah.
Which doesn't need it.
Now it's got a wide knuckle double uni on the pump, on the PTO I should say, so I can actually turn while it's spraying.
Okay.
Whereas if you didn't have that, you'd want to shut down at the end of each row.
Or else you'd put too much strain on the 3-point link or something.
On the PTO.
On the PTO.
I think that he's already done that side, so we're just going to do one-sided.
Do you get better pressure if you do one-sided, or can you?
Does give a little bit more, yeah.
A little, so.
And the fan is naturally blowing that way stronger.
Right.
So if you are going to do one-sided and you want to get the best out of the fan, you do it on that side.
You do the left side,
yeah.
right. Well, the left side as we're facing it. Is there something that tells you how much is left in the tank? Is it got a meter?
There's a little clear hose that runs down.
Right.
But if you're paying attention, you'll see the pressure drop on the gauge.
On that gauge,
yeah.
Right, and that's a measure of what's in there.
Yeah. As soon as the pressure drops, it's no longer picking up water and it's time to turn everything
Okay. Now, these tornado sprayers seem to be an industry standard.
There are some other ones that are reasonably good. The Sylvan ones, the new models, they call them the Scramjet. They're a lot quieter.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about things like the problem with Clunes Village, for example,
Right.
noise is a big factor in A, alerting people, and B, bothering people.
Yes.
If you can get around quieter, a lot of people won't even know you're doing it and they'll have nothing to complain about.
Right. I mean, you don't necessarily want to sneak around on them either, but you don't want to be in their face.
You don't need to sort of, make it obvious if you can.
Yeah.
And that I'm not really sure what the difference is with the Scramjet, but they get some really good height, those zinc-sided Sylvan units.
Yeah.
I mean, we're using one at the moment on a couple of different farms, Clunes and Eureka and Plains Ridges.
There's some new technology that supposedly electrically charges the particles,
I haven't heard it.
making them stick to the leaves better, or sort of, get attracted to the leaves.
Copper line hoses or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. It was someone was trying to demonstrate it at the OSMAC conference last year, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Electrically charged drops,
Yep.
which sort of go towards the leaves, and that might make spray drift a little bit less, I suppose, if that catches on. But pest-wise, are you told? I mean, certainly what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of lacebug around this spring.
Yeah,
But
apparently
it's a big
a
year
lot
for
of places
lacebug.
are going early,
Yeah.
a lot earlier than they would otherwise and have done in the past.
Well, that's one of the reasons for picking Transform, isn't it? That you get some systemic action on.
Yeah, you're going to find that some places who have gone early and used the cheap chemistry might end up doing it twice and negate the whole saving that they tried to save on the chemical.
Well, if you're using diazinon, it's not systemic, is it? It's just contact. It just sits on it.
I believe so.
Yeah. But it lasts like a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, a
before
couple of weeks out of diazinon.
And Transform will supposedly last you, 4 to 6 weeks, but you never know.
Well, your fungicides are at best 3 weeks anyway, so the concept of a efficacy of a pesticide lasting any longer is silly because you're still going to run out of fungicide after a few weeks anyway.
Exactly. Now, we're going through an old 7-metre row by the looks.
Yeah, I've just pitched them right up so they get the height down instead of...
Okay, so that's what you do. Those turrets are now pointing almost straight up.
Yep.
And you're confident that's reaching the top of the trees?
Going through the tops of the trees.
Really? Wow. So that could happen on my place.
Oh, yeah,
Look,
we can do your place easy.
Yeah, it's just
If these can't do it, nothing
can. Yeah.
The other alternative after this is to run drones across the top.
Yeah.
And fill that top part with some drones, and then
that's a lot of drones.
Achieve
though.
the rest of the stuff. Oh well, you'll double up the chemical rate,
right?
And run the tops at a reasonable speed. So and they get fantastic downforce. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Yeah.
But the downforce they achieve is brilliant
because of the fact that they're drones pushing,
maintaining the
right.
So
yeah, I would have thought drone spraying has some advantage in that you've actually got the reason it flies, as in the propeller force, the air being pushed down.
Yeah.
You therefore then just drop the liquid and it spreads it.
Yeah, they do work really well, and they will have a big place
in future.
Yeah.
No,
they'll also be able to, and they're already spotting bugs.
Yeah.
With their software, and they'll do
pest scouting,
crop forecasting as well. So they'll
to see what
they'll pick up fruit, and they'll be able to say, and they'll build in algorithms to say, well, normally you'd lose X between now and harvest, but they'll be able to give you good forecasting.
Well, there's always that nervous time in November where you want to know what's been set and what kind of crop you've got on the tree, and you'll never know by looking. But a drone could tell you.
Yeah. The old saying is you kind of don't really think about it till Christmas,
and even then you don't know too much.
Come Christmas time, you might go have a look.
Oh, this is an interesting turning circle.
No, that's nothing.
It's nothing to you. I tell you what, look, I've been slashing the past few days, and I look. These are my old blocks that haven't had that much attention. I've got tobacco leaf plants that are twice as tall as the tractor, and they're just going under the slasher and getting munched. It's quite satisfying.
I'm going to sit out quite wide here to give you a good shot.
Yeah.
So you can.
So one side only because you've done the other one?
Yeah.
Right.
We just did through the middle there.
Okay, so that's turned up now. That's full. That's full blast, literally.
You could get more out of that pump if you wanted.
Yeah.
But we're getting really good coverage right to the top here.
It does look pretty good. So it's basically a mix of Transform and the Balance BZ3M,
ZBM,
which is zinc boron molybdenum. Yeah.
And a wetter, which you would always use. An oil-based wetter in this case.
I was going to ask about that. Transform technically doesn't need a wetter, but it says you can use some.
Does it?
Yeah.
You're far more read up on all the stuff that.
Yeah, I've read up on that.
I am, and a lot of the agronomists actually left the industry because they could see a lot of people not getting the value and the results. And
well, I think Mark Duncan
so
had
we've
that.
Lost Mark,
had that
we've lost
view.
Phil McCarthy, we've lost Colby.
Is it because on an ethical basis they just decided, well, we're an agronomist, our job is to advise farmers on how to make a profit, and we can't do that in the current pricing climate?
I think that's a part of it, and you'll also then have situations where they're telling farmers to use things like Transform for a variety of reasons, and the farmers are saying, no, too expensive, I'm going to use diazonon.
Yeah.
Which is happening everywhere.
Well, certainly an agronomist operating in my local area, I haven't taken him on yet, but he's been suggesting diazonon, but understands if the farmers want to use Transform for environmental or just safety reasons, frankly, because...
So you see, that's a case of understanding the economics of the situation and ignoring the environmental
side of it.
Yeah.
But I would have also thought from efficacy, if you've got a systemic product, one that gets into the flowers and into the leaves, it's going to, it'll outlive a shower, it'll keep killing lace bugs as they're born, it breaks the breeding cycle. The time I used Leopard X once, first year I got on the farm, and it was Mark Duncan's recommendation. He said, and I looked at it and I thought, okay, it's an organophosphate, but I've come to terms with it. It's single use, it's contact, it doesn't hang around that much, and it's not that bad for beneficials. But it's, I mean, the only time I got complete control of lacebug was when I used Transform.
Yeah.
But my God, that was an expensive spray.
It is expensive.
Yeah. But
it'll come off patent soon, and hopefully come down a bit, because yes, it's a very expensive spray round.
Some generics will come out.
Yeah.
In terms of whether it's worth it all, are you hearing any rumours that the price is going to come back up?
Well, the processors are screaming out for more nut.
Yeah, I'm told that a couple of private offers have been made.
Oh, definitely.
Softly to farmers, going, have you got any more you can give us?
Yeah.
And we'll pay you $2.80.
Really?
Yeah, but
I've got 30 tonne in a silo of plumes and might have to go talk to them.
Yeah. I just didn't harvest, and I think a lot of people just didn't harvest it. For me, I looked at the advice from people like Chris Searle saying, look, unless you're going to get over 2 tonne a hectare, you might as well leave it on the ground and mulch it up, because you're not going to get back your costs of harvesting and everything else. And plus, they've got some very happy relatives who now have hundreds of kilos of macadamia nuts, and my dear elderly father and uncle sitting on the balcony down in Sydney, cracking nuts and having a chat and having a cup of tea. It's become a bit of a daily ritual for them.
Well, the kids actually love it.
They like cracking nuts.
It gets half an hour of enjoyment time, and they sit still for half an hour.
Oh, it's better than being on an iPad, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah, by a long shot. Yeah. And so it's generally mornings you do this, isn't it? Because the wind gets up in the afternoon.
Well, if
Or
you,
is that right?
have conditions that are conducive to spraying all day in terms of wind speed,
You can do it.
you can go all day, and you just take into you factor in the direction and how it changes through the day, and you do certain blocks that are suitable for that direction.
Right.
So as I say, by about 11 it'll change and it'll come up, and we'll do that northern block.
So you really do strategically look at a farm that you take on
I have to.
and go, okay, I'm going to do this, this and this in the morning.
Yep.
These blocks have a bad side slope.
Yeah.
I'm told there's also a consideration that you don't do some blocks with a full tank. With a big slope on them.
If they're seriously slopey, yes.
Yeah.
That is a consideration. We're going to just poke through here and start up the other end.
Right.
But you know, with these big wide wheelbase machines, and that's the wheelbase on that spray unit, the axle's really wide too. It's less of a concern.
So you're a fan of a wide wheelbase, even though, like on narrow roads like this, it means a slightly more crowded manoeuvre?
A little bit. It's all right. It's fine. You got to just poke around a bit.
Because I do look around different brands of tractor and see what they're offering, and I know that, you know, Antonio Carraro's always had that emphasis on, we'll give you a big narrow tractor where you can get down narrow orchard roads, because that's what they do in Italy. You know, there's a lot of their home market is for that. But
they're hauling around 500 litre spray tanks.
Right. Not two ton.
By the time you talk the trailer and the water, that's 3 tons.
Yeah.
We've got 110 horsepower, 105 horsepower Carraro in the shed just here.
Right.
It doesn't have the weight to spray safely.
Okay.
You could do 1,000 litres, but geez, you'd be running back to the shed every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you were down on the Cane Flats, where we were also farming, down in Wardell and Pimlico, and I know the Dories, I'm pretty sure they use little Antonio Carraros.
Yep. For spraying.
For spraying, because it's flat and it's light on the ground, and they got plenty of horsepower. The horsepower's not a problem.
Never is with the Carraros.
No,
they put big horsepower engines in small tractors.
They got heaps of juice. So.
Basically like the Italian car industry.
So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they're using them down there. You'd actually do well to make friends with Cole Dory and go and have a chat with him.
I'm going to have a look down at the farm, hopefully at Dungaraba soon, which is old sugarcane flats. So out the window there, I can see the row we've just done with spray dripping off the leaves.
Yeah.
A sign that it's all been pretty much done. And look, this time of year for lacebug, you've really got to do it before the bees start coming.
Well, night spraying sucks.
Yeah.
It's not very nice, and it's more difficult.
More complaints too?
Yeah, with noise, definitely. And you also have that delta T problem when the temperature drops and the humidity comes up and everything starts to fall. The atmosphere gets thick with moisture, and the temperature means that everything drops. So
you end up creating a cloud in the atmosphere,
which
effectively.
falls down into the valley.
And so it wanders.
It wanders,
yeah.
like mist. And so you have to be very aware of that. And so...
Now, I've got one neighbour who night sprays, and you can certainly hear it across the valley.
I think they're planning to ban it, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
You've got to watch your inversion layer, and you've got to be really careful.
Yeah.
See, we're dropping pressure.
So in assuming our low price environment continues a little bit, when would the next spray be after this? October, November?
Match head side, so probably...
October-ish.
Yeah.
And this is when you hit it for indoxacarb and...
Some people do their indoxacarb in the first spray. I know people who do.
I did 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't think it made any difference at all.
So, yes, traditionally your indox is used in your second spray.
Yeah. I'm happy with that. And of course, The other problem with spraying indoxacarb in your first spray is it's got a massive withholding period. I think it's 42 days, I think, something like that.
You've got to be really careful when you have neighbours with adjoining cattle paddocks.
Yeah.
With indoxacarb, you'll shut the whole bloody industry down by not doing the right thing.
Yeah. Well, indoxacarb is cockroach bait, you know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Except when we use it in our house, it's sealed up in plastic boxes. Does a great job on cockroaches. Geez, some good flower here.
Yeah, trees on the ends of the roads are always the best.
Yeah, so I've noticed. Yeah.
Lots of light, lots of airflow.
Perfect, really conditions. But look, with these 14-metre rows, I have to say the trees are very happy. A lot happier than mine.
Well, you've got the entire side and top of the canopy producing.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at those, there's only a little bit up the top.
Yep.
On the 14 metres, you've got the entire 15-metre side.
And nuts all the way up the side.
Nuts all the way up and down the side.
I mean, you don't need to be a mathematician to work out how good that is in terms of productivity.
Tree numbers are irrelevant. It's canopy, which is your
it's a
real measure of
how many hectares of sunlight do you have.
Yeah. Oh look, I've got a little bloke washing my car for me. How good's that?
Jeez, I want one of those. Somehow he didn't look all that impressed when you waved at him.
I'll bribe him with bacon and egg rolls.
Oh, bacon egg roll at Clunes.
That'll get him going.
I'm still laughing at the time you drove your tractor up for a coffee, and you just parked your tractor right next to a BMW in the Clunes store, and everyone was laughing except I think for the BMW owner.
I think if you go to the pub in the tractor, you should get a free schooner.
Absolutely.
Propose that idea to Matt and Luke.
Well, or you could rock up on a horse.
That's been done.
It's been done.
And the camel lady who trekked across the country stopped in at Elephant Pub too.
I have a very elderly and famous old barrister friend called Frank Curran, who used to own still does own the biggest sugar farm in the area. He rode all the way to Alstonville on his horse.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't want him to, and he insisted, no, my grandfather did this, I'm going to do this. And he then got in trouble because his horse pooped all over town and he wouldn't clean it up. Yeah.
Well,
bit of an issue with that.
I understand that.
Oh, barristers, you know what they're like. Anyway. So you know you're out of juice now, effectively, right?
Probably a little bit in it, but the pressure dropped right down.
So I've been here for a whole tank.
Yep.
Brilliant.
About 22 minutes or so.
Thanks, Nick. This is wonderful.
That's all right.
All right, so we'll head out now, and I don't even know how to get out of here.
Pull that up.
You pull this right, and we've done ourselves a whole tank. Matt, thanks so much for the demonstration. I can't believe how efficient it is. It's incredible. Yeah, it really covers the tree. Yeah,
and it gets the height.
Yeah,
These are tall trees.
Yeah, you bet. They're massive, you know, and they're happy though.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, the 14-metre rows, I have to say, big fan.
Yeah. Well, some of these ones, we'll take a walk in a minute. Some of these are starting to touch in the middle.
Really?
And that's, big tree.
Do you want to come show me your best rows?
Yeah, right.
Or is it safe to walk there now? It probably would be. So Matt, here we are on we actually get to see your farm now, and these rows have been sprayed, so I'm told they're safe.
Yeah.
they'd be dry by now.
They were done at sort of 6 a.m. this morning, so they should be okay.
Yeah, they look dry.
As long as they don't lick the leaves.
Yeah, no, I won't be doing that. So Matt, tell us about your story. You're a Sydney sider too, aren't you?
Yeah, Sydney cider. We bought the place here in 2016.
Yep.
We were told it had 2,500 trees on it. After I counted it, it had 1,834.
Oh dear.
So that was a bit of a
letdown.
Yeah, a bit of a letdown, and caused a bit of an issue. I have since removed about 210 of the trees, some of the rows down there.
So you did this row removal?
We did some of this row removal here. It sort of had like a half row in it.
Yes.
This had some.
Yeah.
Sort of from like here-ish bit down here onwards, and here as well. And so we removed some of them here, and then removed every 4th row from those ones where you were just spraying.
Right, so that's why there was still a couple of narrow rows left.
Yeah. So
right.
I did every 4th.
Yes.
Wait till those fill out, I think, and then
to just keep the crop going while you were waiting. Yeah, right.
I'm a bit undecided whether or not we take out the centre row or just take the tops off the centre row, off the second row.
Okay.
And then let light back in through that way. And just see how that goes for a bit.
Well, your model here seems to be reasonably tall trees, like mine, only with enough sunlight between the rows for them to actually crop on the side of the tree, which is unlike mine. And they look happy, I've got to say.
Quite nicely.
Yeah. I mean, there's crop on the side and flowers on the side.
Flowers, and then, you can feel the...
I get these on the trees at the ends of my rows, but in the middle of the rows is where I fall down, because that's where I'm just not getting leafy coverage, and the first sideways branch is like, so far up the tree it isn't funny.
But you're thinking of taking some rows out too, aren't you?
Well, I don't know at the moment. It to me it's a budgeting thing in terms of what can you afford to do and what's the best way to do it. I mean, did you find it, you don't regret removing the rows? No.
I mean besides the aesthetics of it, look how big these rows are. It's got plenty of grass underneath them. You've got no chance of really any wash away here anyway.
No.
But,
no, this is really quite flat near Rosebank Road here, and the trees, if you don't want to prune them, I suppose you don't have to.
No, I don't have to just yet. So this is where we had a row here.
Right.
You can see where all the new growth is happening on the sides here.
Right.
We did that in September, October 2019, just before COVID.
Right, so, this is in the 4 years then?
This is in the 4-year mark now. Yeah.
And so none of that side growth was there?
No, you only had the tops. You had nothing underneath.
So it does...
I used to regret, not regret,
it must have looked strange when you cut them out.
I used to hate harvesting this area because it was just full of leaf, it was full of broken branches, it was...
Yeah.
Now it's probably the best part to harvest because it's just...
And yield-wise? Is it giving you the yield that it used to have in the 7 metre rows, do you think?
In 2019 was probably our best yielding year so far.
Right.
And this year, probably about 10% lower than that now.
Right.
So, and this year we're expecting a decent crop, so... besides the actual...
Well, there's a very good flower on, and I've noticed it around the Northern Rivers now. Anywhere I've looked, there's some decent flower on, and I'm getting some decent flower, and my trees had a holiday last year. And I didn't care if they did because, the price was just so poor. There's... some promise in it. And I guess, we're all now investing in the Transform, all these expensive chemicals to make a crop in the hope that we might get a slightly better deal this year.
I'm hoping to do another harvest round in a couple of weeks.
You've got some A's that still need...
A16s and A4s down the hill.
We saw them with when I was driving around with Nick,
The A16s still have quite a bit of...
nut on them,
decent nut on them.
Yeah.
A4s seem to have dropped off.
Yep.
A16 seem to hold on. Whether they actually drop or not might be another story. But there seems to be some on the ground, which is good.
I've never really subscribed to the idea of tree shaking, but it seems to have that idea seems to have calmed down as the price dropped. It's sort of one of those things where if you want to spend the money getting every last nut, and the price is $6 a kilo, then go ahead and shake the tree.
Yeah.
But otherwise, you leave the bloody thing alone and don't disturb its root system.
Just let it drop. I just don't like the idea of shaking it and disturbing the root system. And then you come up and.
I've just taken the view roots are the Achilles heel of a macadamia tree. They really don't go very far. They're not invasive or strong. You've got to. You've got to really feed the roots.
We'll go on the high side here and then we can walk across to the...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so these would be about... It's hard to pinpoint an exact date, but I'd say about a 28-year-old
tree. Are we talking 344s?
I've got a map.
You're lucky. You bought a farm where they knew what they had.
No, I didn't. I had the An agronomist come through
and identify them for you.
identify them for me.
Oh, if you've got his number, give it to me later. We have to we're still scratching our heads on some of what I'm growing.
Oh, really?
But I mean, look these. I'm just saying these look like my 344s.
They are. They are definitely the one. It's either a 344, 246, or 741.
Right.
Okay. You're a 246.
Those are 246.
These are a 344.
Right. They look like
The
it.
next row's a 344.
Yep.
And then as we start to get down the hill, it then turns into A16 and A4s. Yeah.
Okay. Possibly planted at different times, or someone wanted to do a like a mixture.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then we got a northern block over there, which has got just anything that was left over. I think it's got like every sort of variety you could probably think of, except for like the newer varieties.
My block one is just like that. Yeah, it's a complete hodgepodge. There'll never be any problems with cross-pollination,
no,
guaranteed, because there's one of everything. It's a zoo.
It's got absolutely everything in it you could think of. It's got the A38s, it's got A16s, it's got A4s, it's got 741s, it's got 344s, it's got everything.
Yeah.
You name it. I think it was just whatever was left over, let's just throw them here and we'll be done with it.
Yeah. Now, believe it or not, I've seen this young block before. From driving down the road, I've seen. I think I saw when you guys planted it. And I thought, oh, that's interesting, a new planting. And then also, Nick shared some drone footage, or some footage of drones spraying these trees with, I think it was Trivor, for because you had a lot of problem with leaf miner.
Yes, we were having some issues with leaf miner, and we had a drone come in and spray them with Trivor. They probably need a bit of a prune at the moment.
Yeah,
a bit ordinary.
I got a bit of footage of that drone spraying, which I'll show the viewers now. So impressive, the drone spraying, and I've never seen it done before. And I thought, what a great way. Because your spray unit, I suppose your spray unit could do it, couldn't it? It could just use those lower nozzles.
Well, no, it's actually in front of the towers. It's got two jets off to the side, two nozzles off to the side that almost come out just a bit harder than a garden hose.
And so that could be used.
And it sort of goes almost horizontally and down to the ground. So you could come along, and I'll probably be doing it a bit.
So you could do almost a curtain of coverage.
Yeah, so on that far block, we did it a few weeks ago. Where we put C-Max out on these young trees. Yep. And just did that. We just drove up and down the road.
Was it a kelp thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just put a
That's a good idea.
Well, it saves doing it by hand, and it's much easier with a 2,000-litre tank sitting in an air-conditioned cab for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, if I could have that, I would too. Yeah. So these are now, you planted these.
These were
2019, 2020.
2020.
Yeah, I was already in the area when you did it. Yeah, so
2020, probably April.
Right.
April or May? No, probably April.
Well, they're doing good for 3 years old. That looks pretty good.
They're a mixture of 741s and A38s.
Okay.
Don't ask me which is which at the moment. I would never do.
Yeah.
I could probably guess that these are probably the A38s.
Is it 7 or 8 metre spacing?
They're 6.5 by 4.
6.5. Okay.
Yeah, which is exactly the same as that side over there.
Right. And I guess the 6.5 you can get away with because you're talking about two really upright varieties. Really upright, yeah.
Well, the idea would be
A38's the most upright variety.
Well, eventually it'd be either, take one out or depends on, you don't know what the
depends on how
long they leave it.
Yeah, or whether they have a new pruning philosophy that says chop them down and keep them closely planted, or that sort of. It's a real question mark actually.
It changes.
Yeah, because what they tell you is the right thing. one decade doesn't necessarily match what's good on the next one. Now, is that far paddock way over there?
That's mine.
That's yours too?
Yep.
This is a big farm.
Yeah, 60 acres.
Is that all?
That's it, 60 acres.
Bloody hell.
And we've got a bit of rainforest down here.
Yes.
It really drops away in there.
Yeah.
Once
That
you get
must
to
be a creek or something.
Yeah, it is. It's there's a spring-fed dam in there, which I'd love to just clear around a bit.
Yes.
And let the grass grow up to it, so you can
Enjoy the dam or
and
go for a
have look.
kayak. Yeah, I've got that. I'm lucky enough to have that at Nutkin Farm, but I must say I don't get out on the kayak much. There's always too much to do.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
So this was all, when I moved in, this is all bushland.
Okay.
All overgrown.
And the obvious choice was you plant up and down the hill.
Yeah. It's probably not the best as far as this, because it's.
Oh, it looks good to me.
It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, cross would have been for the sunlight and things, but I mean, I think it's far safer to go up and down with the machines, up and down the hill, rather than traverse.
I agree. I agree. I mean, everything I've got's planted on a contour, but the original farmer who owned it came from Tenterfield, and where everything's planted on a contour to save every last drop of water.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And look, I've got used to it. I've come to terms with it. But gosh, if I was planting from scratch, I'd go up and down a slope too, because.
Much safer, I think.
Yeah, and the modern machines, you can control downward movement. Climbing up the hill in wet is, you can go for a bit of a slide, but yeah. How do you, you must use some sort of herbicide to keep the weeds away from Basta, right?
Basta,
hand applied.
Yeah.
With,
Takes a lot longer.
Yeah, yep.
But I think it's just, it's far safer.
And you use a backpack sprayer?
Yeah, he just uses a backpack sprayer.
And do you use one of those cones around the thing, or do you just use the wand?
Yeah, he just uses the wand and just does around the
Okay.
thing. Some are coming along quite well. We've lost one down the halfway towards the bottom there.
Oh, I've lost a couple to cows. It's enough to make me cry. And they have a nibble of some of the young foliage too, which is a real crippling thing. Yeah.
These are all A38s.
They're right.
Yeah, these are all A38s along here.
So you've planted a very early dropping variety in 741 with a very late dropping variety in A38. That's an obvious efficiency issue with harvesting. Yeah. But are you taking the view that, well, look, that's two distinct batches and that's not too bad?
Yeah, well, yeah, you're going to have the Hawaiian varieties are going to drop early, and then you're going to have the the A16s, as you can see, dropping quite late.
Very late,
and
yeah.
the A38s are doing the same.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the most efficient, as you said, with for the harvesting, but.
I suppose if it came to removing every second row down the track, by the time you need to do that, you're going to have a really good idea of which of the two varieties is your money.
We split
is
it.
your money spinner.
I split it now, so all the A16s and the A4s get delivered separately to the Hawaiian varieties.
Okay.
Just from purely better, you get a better.
And you get stats. Yeah. Right.
Get stats off those, and I can then compare the pair and the A varieties. To be honest, this year, to be honest, the Hawaiians are doing quite well.
Right. So what are you talking about in kernel recovery?
Total kernels of the Hawaiians have been up to 39.
So this is 741s, isn't it?
741s or 246s
246.
or 344s. So the A16s
39 is very good.
Yeah. The A16s have gone over 41.
Yeah. That's fairly typical A16. Yeah.
They're MCT1.
All of these?
Yep. 610 actually.
Okay.
I was audited recently.
Yeah. Oh, you were audited? Yeah. Oh, wow. You're the first person I've come across who's actually been audited.
Stop audit.
Yeah. I'll be able to satisfy any audit. All my MCT ones are in one place. I can go, this is one this is the cow ate this one, and I replaced this one, and yeah.
Well, they actually,
no problem.
Enough, they asked for a map of the whole farm, which I thought was a bit unnecessary, but I've got nothing to
No, they do it now, and they want to you have to show them where you're going to plant these trees, and so it's actually more tough than when they first introduced MCT1. I didn't have to tell them that.
Well, I originally did a map where the MCT1s are going, but on the desktop audit they said for the whole orchard. And I went, okay, you probably don't need that, I don't think. But anyway, it doesn't really make a difference to me.
You could tell them to mind their own business, and I'll tell you where the MCT1s are. But I guess if they're trying to look for signs of non-compliance, still, they're not really entitled to that under the contract.
Well, I thought the same too, and I thought, well, yeah, it doesn't really make a difference to me if I tell them or not. I mean, I've got nothing to.
Well, you got nothing to hide anyway.
It doesn't
Yeah,
make a difference. And you just do a Google image and
sure.
map out the areas and tell them which is which variety.
Yeah, I mean, or you could tell them to get lost on principle. But anyway, but yeah, an audit. Wow. And so, these do look like MCT ones, and you put them in what, last year?
Yeah, these were put in end of March, early April last year.
This is what I saw, I think, driving past once or twice.
And then the bottom block is A203.
Right, so there's a gap, and then the very far.
Yeah, so if you can see down the end there, that's their MCT one along the hill.
Yeah.
And then you go sort of. Then they also change rows, but they go that way then.
Right.
Rather than cross.
A203s are, look, they should do well for you.
I hope so. They've got far better growth than these do.
Well, they're vigorous too. Yeah. Look, I noticed, we're wandering around a couple of nurseries, you'd look at the young trees, and I was there at the time to pick up some 246s as gap fillers, and they looked fine, but then you'd look at these other ones that were the same age, and the ones that really seemed to be jumping out of the pot were A203 and 741. Super vigorous. Yeah. Both of those, so, and but MCT1, look, mine are coming on, but they sort of bush up rather than get tall. They're very bushy.
Well, that's not too bad.
No, bushy's good. Yeah.
That's not too bad at all.
But I've got some flowers for the first time this year, and
really?
some actual real flowers on the MCT ones because I planted them about 2 and a bit years ago. So, I want to see if I can actually get a nut out of them, but all experimental at this stage.
Yeah, I've seen a few of the either the A38s or the 74, probably 741 actually, over that 3-year-old block.
That first 3-year-old block that we looked at.
I saw some last year, and now we can see some. When I was going up and down it the other week, we saw some flowers on there as well. So they're
not worth dragging a harvester around.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
I probably might see a bit more next year, but definitely the year after will be the year for a proper harvest, I would have thought.
So what's your harvesting rig, Matt? Is you're not using that same tractor, are you?
No. We use a Lismore Engineering 0-turn. So like a Robmac, so similar to a Robmac, but the Lismore Engineering version.
Oh, is that built on a Kubota?
No, it's on a Toro.
It's on a Toro as well, right? Okay. I didn't know they made those.
Yeah, they do a 0-turn.
Yeah. So they're nice and quick to get around the property on.
Quick, it's nimble,
but it doesn't hold too much at a time.
No.
Yeah.
So you have to.
So longer run, that's not going to be an option for this, is it? I mean, you're going to have too many.
Well, I've also got a Carraro tractor.
Yeah.
And the idea when I first bought it was to throw a harvester head on that, and that would be the long term. Use it as a tractor initially, and turn it into a harvester once this was all planted.
Yeah.
But it's not a reverse cab. And it does have it's got a front end loader attachment with it.
Yeah.
It's not on it, but it does. And then, but you could put the harvest head on that, but it's not.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. No. And I was told that from the guys at Lismore Engineering that I probably wouldn't like it after a few years. So, and I'd be just
keep it as a tractor.
Just keep it as a tractor.
It's nice to have.
It is a nice tractor actually.
Yeah.
It climbs everywhere.
Yeah, they're good old Italian heritage tractors. They're made for hills that are a lot steeper than this.
Oh, yeah. Well,
your row spacing here is wider too, isn't it?
It actually looks a bit wider.
It definitely seems like 7 or 8 metres. I don't know.
I don't know if it's because it's
maybe because the trees are smaller.
Yeah, maybe.
Optical illusion.
Smaller.
Yeah.
Possibly it was marked out. It should be marked out at 6.5 by 4.
Yeah. No, just maybe it just is the optical illusion of it, I think. And I measured out 9 by 4 for my spare paddock, and the 9 seems so much. It's like you sort of regret it. There's a lot of gap. There's a lot of mowing. Yeah. There's a hell of a lot of mowing, but particularly in summer. But you get a little break from it in winter, and you tend to forget.
Yeah, how much there is.
Yeah,
we did this about 3 weeks ago.
The mowing?
Yeah, or the mowing here for both blocks.
Well, your grass is growing faster than mine.
Yeah, it's doing okay actually. We use a Trimax wide wing mower.
Oh, one of the wing things. Yeah.
12 foot wide.
Yeah.
We do 2 runs up each row. Overlaps, obviously.
Right.
And then the 0-turn runs in between.
Okay.
They just cross each other.
Yes.
And then it does it quite quickly.
Well,
but you have to-
I've been using my slasher to do the inter-row mowing, and then I'll take a zero turn around later. But yeah, the slasher actually, it doesn't do a bad job. It's just that you can't be overly accurate with little trees like this. You're too close and you're going to take one out.
Well, that's the thing with the wide wing. It sort of sits out that far, and you're sitting in the RA tractor because it's such a smaller tractor.
Yeah.
And it's out there, and you forget sometimes that you have to keep looking back to see how close it is.
Yeah.
I haven't actually. Actually, you know what I did? I took one out when they were not long first planted.
Yeah.
These 3-year-old trees. I took one out and I had to go back to the nursery. My tail between my legs. Look, I took
So
one out.
yeah.
See the spray coming through.
I'm sure it's happened. Oh yeah, way off in the distance. Probably won't be visible to viewers unless they've got a huge screen. But yeah.
Definitely getting some coverage.
And you can see the wind isn't blowing too, because that cloud is just static. It's just not. It's not going elsewhere.
Dropping straight back down.
And it's exactly what you want. Yeah.
So this we had to clear all this.
Yeah.
Which took a bit of time.
Did you use an excavator or hire people in, or?
Yeah, local guy in his name's Ross Yana.
Yeah.
And Jeff Smith.
I take it was a cattle farm, was it, before this? Or?
Yeah, it was originally, yeah.
Yeah.
It was originally a cattle farm. We did this side first, and then he did sort of half of it.
Yeah.
We had to watch funds a little bit.
Sure.
It's not cheap having both of them here.
No.
And then we did this part and that part sort of together, but they were here for doing these two. They were here for a month.
Yep.
Cleaning it all up.
And an issue that's popped up in one of my other videos before that did cause more discussion than I thought it would was that did you rip? You didn't rip?
No.
Okay.
Started to.
Yep.
Luckily, the guy that came to do the planting. See, these are all hand planted.
Yes.
The guy that came to do the ripping.
Yep.
He broke 2 sacrificer bolts on his ripper.
Yeah.
Because of he said he hit rock or whatever.
Yeah.
He ripped 2 rows just over here.
Yep.
At the start, and said, "Nah, I'm going." We said, "All right, fine." Sort of left us a bit high and dry with all these trees.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're kind of glad anyway, because if you rip the rows going down the hills, it creates a valley and all soft dirt.
And rain could wash it away, of course.
Then you've got erosion problems. So what we did is we used the 2, because they were done by GPS.
Yep.
We used the first 2 rows as a marker for the rest of this block.
And just stayed parallel.
Just stayed parallel, and then it was all marked out by hand, and then
well, that's clever.
And then it was all individually drilled with a bobcat.
Oh, okay.
With an
A bobcat and a post hole diggers. Yeah.
With an auger.
Yeah. So I've used a kangaroo or whatever they're called for some of them. Although I must admit, I returned to hand digging, partly because I need the exercise anyway, but partly because I think I can get a better hole, sort of.
Yep.
The post hole diggers made a big unwieldy hole that, I don't know, it just seemed in a way too big. But I just, look, it's individual preference, and when you're doing this number of trees, you'd kill yourself planting all them manually.
Yeah, well, these younger trees are an order of 1,610.
Okay.
And they're 683.
Yeah, it's a lot.
So it's a few there.
What did you do when planting them? Did you put fertiliser in the hole?
We did a spadeful of chicken manure. That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
That's loose chicken manure? Not pellets?
No,
Yep.
yeah, pellets. Pelletised chicken manure into the hole.
Yep.
Covered it over, and then just kept up the kelp.
After that.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty good testament to kelp working, because you've got some, particularly those 3-year-old trees, they're starting to look pretty nice.
Well, a lot of people take a bit more of a scientific approach with adding more additives, and we just didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you might have seen Matty Kelby's videos where he's got an amazing planting method. He still says he's had no casualties, and I think that's fantastic because he's doing it in a lower rainfall area too. With water crystals and all that sort of stuff.
Maybe that's sort of the difference. We get a lot more rainfall out here as well, where that sort of helps.
Well, the test will be in El Nino, won't it?
Yeah.
This is the testing period coming up. It's been rainy for everyone the last few years, but I just think the way Matty does it, he's probably got beautifully set up.
Yeah.
It's different soil to this too.
Yeah.
But other than kelp, have you fed them anything since then?
Just pelletised chicken manure.
Pelletized chalk,
Yeah,
okay.
And we do actually use a top of a degreaser cup. Just the degreaser cans.
Yeah.
There's a measuring cup and straight out into the trees. And we drive up and down the roads and straight out, throw it, straight out, throw it.
Right.
On the high side, and then it just seeps into the tree.
I will keep my next grease can when I empty it.
Yeah.
It sounds like a great measuring tool. So one per tree.
Yeah, one per tree.
How often?
Usually try to do it once every 3 months.
Okay.
It seems to.
And look, it's slow release. You don't have to match it with any flush or anything like that. I don't think you need to be scientific about it, just so long as it gets some food to grow on it.
One person drives the ute, one of us sits on the back and just throws it out. It's real easy.
Fantastic.
Gets it done fast. Or we can do it with the Nick and I share it. He's got the 1000cc Polaris quad bike,
Oh, yes.
and I've got the.
He tried getting my mower out of a bog with that quad bike once. It didn't work. The mower beat him. I was in too much of a bog, and we ended up having to get my Carraro and then just yank it out. And of course, the Carraro just yanked it out like it was a toy. And just that was embarrassing. But interesting quad bike though.
Yeah, no, it's good, and it's got the CDAX 400 litre spreader behind it.
That's a sprayer.
No, a spreader.
A spreader?
A spreader, yeah.
You're kidding?
No, it's good.
On a quad bike?
It's fantastic.
Wow.
Really nimble, it's real quick. We're not doing any pelletized fertilising this year, just to, that's one of the cost savings we're going to do.
Right. So what are you going to do for these trees?
These trees, I've still got a ton of pelletized chicken manure in the shed.
Okay.
So I'm just going to keep doing these. I'll keep feeding these.
Yeah.
Actually, this is going to get the bulk chicken manure that's coming later this month.
Oh, right.
The same lower rate than what these will get.
But someone's got to spread that for you.
I've got a spreader.
You've got one? Okay. Oh, wow. Lucky you.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't usually have manure spreaders. They're just so expensive and you use them so infrequently that it doesn't justify the capital outlay.
Well,
but you've got one.
It doesn't really.
You just sell your services to other farms and they'll go for it.
If we can help someone else.
Might give you a gig myself.
Yeah.
I've got all this cow manure and wood chip coming, hopefully.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
How much did you order?
375 cubes.
Okay.
Because I have root exposure and other issues that you don't have. You clearly don't have in your...
A little bit, but yeah, not too bad.
And you've got to try and kill two birds with one stone. And at that amount of cubage, you would hope to deal with most of the food needs for the season.
Yeah. Well,
and the root exposure issue.
Yeah. Well, I put on these 3-year-old trees, they'll get about 60 cube.
Yep.
And these will get 340 cube.
340 cube of just straight chalk.
Straight chalk.
Okay, that's...
Last year I did a third chicken manure, a third tea tree, and a third hardship.
Were you ever on chemical feeds like Eco Growth?
No.
Or you've never really done that?
No, we've never done that. Actually, I could do that in that sprayer.
I don't mean liquid feeds necessarily. I mean granular.
Yes, we were. We did the Eco Growth, and that's we did that. We didn't do it. We cut it back last year. Yep. And we're not doing it this year. Just going to do the bulk manure this year.
Right.
And if the price of nuts improves next year, then we might.
Well, the options open up, don't they? Yeah. I mean, I've just look. I in a way was looking at returning to granular for some of the farm that I wasn't going to put the manure on, but I think I've just divorced myself from that now, and I want organic, something organic to feed the soil rather than just dump chemicals on. I realise the trees are hungry, and they certainly, look, my younger trees are all hungry, but
they certainly show it too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those are it's just a lovely bunch of flowers on that tree. Yeah.
That's a 2, 4, 6,
So you'd hope now with this protection and with a bit of feeding or whatever, you're going to end up with a decent crop, and we've just got to find someone to pay a reasonable price for it.
That's what it comes down to.
So we're saying to Nick, that apparently the processors are all coming up short because they arrogantly assumed that we'd all just send in our nuts to cut our losses regardless of the price, and a bunch of them, including me, didn't do that.
For sure.
We just said we're going to do the maths, But look, the good thing is all these silos of nuts that they said were just sitting there from previous years, they'd have had to have been cleaned out if they're reaching that point. So
Depending on the style of nut that is, though.
yes, yes,
I've heard that style 0, style 1 are fairly well sold out everywhere. You can't get your hands on any of that, I believe.
right,
Which is
good.
which is good. That's your premium.
Yep.
And then
The ingredient styles is the real question mark,
yeah,
aren't they?
that's correct.
Yeah,
And then obviously you got lower stuff like your paste and oils and stuff, but
sure.
I should think that would still be available.
Yeah,
Just, you know, it doesn't matter what the nut looks like to go down to an oil as long as you can extract the oil out of it.
well, yeah, and you know, the little crumbs and stuff, they're still great in ice cream and biscuit products. My mum has actually made up a whole bunch of macadamia meal
Yeah.
from the nuts I've given them, and I had a macadamia meal cookie, and it
Good.
was, look, fantastic. It cost a bomb if you made them commercially.
Oh, yeah.
But macadamia meal is really good stuff,
Yeah.
and as an ingredient to sort of bulk out things a bit, adds a little bit of flavour, not heaps.
Yep.
But yeah, with that price point going down, I hope that some manufacturers are starting to snap it up going.
I hope
Look,
so.
you know.
And especially with this dry spell coming up now, you know, that might be a bit of a, I don't know, might lift the price up a little bit again, maybe, like
It
last
may
time.
be. Well, 2019 was meant to be a year when all our crops were going to fail for a lack of moisture, and then we all got a good crop. So it's kind of hard to judge what the effect on the crop will be. I think, you know, if people are spending less on the farms, the crop will still be down because, you know, you spend money, you make money.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, that's just maths. You know, we've got to live with the real world.
Yep.
The processors need to realise that we have to live with the real world, and if we get a win, they get a win. That's the best way to do things.
Well, it's the same sort of thing as you're saying. If they haven't got a crop to sell,
Yeah,
they're out of a job, and you know,
Yeah,
it's no good for us. We need to sell nuts too. So
well, they can make a margin at any price so long as they have nut. But if they don't have nut, yeah,
so now why not increase the price so it's a fair? Well, it's less
Well-
more than the cost of production for us.
I think they've learned that they've got to cover our cost of production and take a little bit of a bath themselves.
Well,
And maybe they are taking a bath to an extent anyway, but still, you can't just get supply at any price.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's the lesson to learn. Well, we're back here now at the farmhouse, so we'll probably wrap things up for this video. It's a nice long one. Oh no, we'll have to see what's wrong with the tractor. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Thanks, Riley. Thanks, Nick. We'll see you again soon, guys. Bye.